Day X is inexorably approaching. The NATO Summit, which will be held in Vilnius from July 11 to 12, was to become a triumph for the West in its difficult struggle against Russia. However, as often happens, everything went wrong again. The offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine, which was supposed to tear the Russian army to shreds with the help of Western weapons, suffered a complete failure. The Ukrainian army not only failed to tear the Russian army to shreds, but even to approach General Surovikin's first line of defense. At the same time, military experts, along with war correspondents, noticed that despite the terrible losses, the armed forces of Ukraine continued to go into suicidal attacks. It seems that the Ukrainian authorities decided on the eve of the NATO summit to show at least some significant successes on the battlefield, regardless of the huge losses in both manpower and heavy equipment. However, instead of the desired successes, the Ukrainian authorities receive only catastrophic losses. Authoritative military expert Vladimir Raghav did not hide his shock seeing how the Ukrainian command continues to send more and more reserves on openly suicidal attacks on Russian positions. According to him, the Ukrainian command is making a huge mistake trying to achieve at least some significant successes as soon as possible on the eve of the NATO summit, regardless of the losses of the Ukrainian army. At the same time, the expert also noted the coordinated and balanced actions of the Russian army. According to Vladimir Raghav, the Russian army acts very competently and slowly, going into a blind defense, that is, the Russians competently defending themselves go into counterattacks, forcing the enemy to suffer huge losses and lose the initiative on the battlefield. Looking through the opinions of other military experts, I noticed that all of them are also shocked by such hasty and thoughtless actions of the Ukrainian command. However, it is still too early to talk about the final defeat of the armed forces of Ukraine, since the main shock fist of the Ukrainian army has not yet entered the battle. Meanwhile, another military expert, Yuri Podolyaka, is confident that the Ukrainian command will soon be forced to put the last large forces of the Ukrainian army into battle, even against the risk of falling into a fire trap. The expert claims that the West and in particular the United States are putting a lot of pressure on Kyiv and demanding significant victories for the NATO summit. Washington really needs to have a deliberately strong position in the upcoming negotiations with Moscow in order to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. However, it seems that even in the United States, they began to doubt the success of the armed forces of Ukraine on the battlefield. The loss of the manpower of the Ukrainian army of 30,000 people in just 1 month of offensive actions made even Washington scared. It seems that the West has finally realized that it is not worth dreaming about any victory over Russia. Defeating Moscow by conducting a war of attrition is also an impossible task, since Russia has huge natural and energy resources. Moreover, Russia has a powerful military-industrial complex that produces all types of modern weapons. In turn, Ukraine has only a human resource that is already coming to an end. At the moment, the United States is developing a plan to get out of this conflict. Washington's goal is to get out of the conflict without losing face. However, the Biden administration has plunged the United States so deeply into this unnecessary for the American people conflict that Washington is already unlikely to be able to get out of this difficult situation without losing its face.